Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. The safe just pushed some guys over. Right here going towards baffling on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. You got to take the bitch to the woods. Quick flurry.
Okay, now.
Yes, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
On the night of August 8, 2013, in San Angelo, Texas, 26-year-old Brandon Mason Lawson left his home after a heated argument with his longtime girlfriend, Ladessa Lofton. Brandon was a father of 4, a hard-working man employed in the oil fields, and someone who had been striving to overcome past struggles with substance abuse. That night, frustration and exhaustion had pushed him to make a decision that would change everything. He told his father that he was on his way to Crowley, Texas, nearly 3 hours away, perhaps to escape the tension at home. He was driving his pickup truck, unaware that the night ahead would become a nightmare. Around 11:54 p.m., Brandon's troubles took a more urgent turn. He ran out of gas on a rural stretch of U.S. Highway 277 between San Angelo and Bronte. This was a desolate area, lined with brush, flatlands, and almost no signs of civilization. In a panicked state, he called his brother, Kyle Lawson, explaining that he had stopped on the shoulder and needed help. Kyle, together with his girlfriend Audrey, quickly began preparations to bring fuel to him. But the night was about to take a terrifying twist. Brandon also made a 911 call that would later become chillingly famous. In that call, his words were fragmented, strained, and fearful. He claimed he was in a field and that something was chasing him. At times, his words were barely understandable, yet the sense of terror in his voice was undeniable. He kept repeating that he needed the police immediately. "No, I need the cops," he said before the call ended.
I'm in the middle of the field. The safe just pushed some guys over. Right here going towards baffling on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. You got to take the bitch to the woods. Quick flurry.
Okay, now run that by
The one I talked to home. I surely ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
That's the first guy.
You need an ambulance?
Yes, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
The dispatcher never fully grasped his exact location or the nature of the threat, leaving listeners with an unsettling void, as though the night itself had swallowed him. By 1:10 a.m., Kyle arrived at Brandon's truck. At this point, law enforcement was also involved, but confusion reigned. Deputy Neal had reached the scene and saw the abandoned vehicle, but no one noticed Brandon hiding nearby. Brandon reportedly told Kyle during a call that he could see him, and that he was bleeding. Yet when Kyle and the deputy searched, he remained invisible, a ghost in the darkness. That final, fragmented communication marked the last contact the world would have with Brandon for nearly a decade. The early search efforts were extensive, but ultimately fruitless. Search teams combed fields, brush, and surrounding areas. Volunteers, family members, and authorities scoured the miles of desolate Texas land near Highway 277. Despite the efforts, Brandon remained missing. Searchers used flashlights, vehicles, and even drones where possible, calling out his name and checking every possible hiding spot. Despite hours of combing the area and following every lead, no trace of Brandon could be found. Each passing hour deepened the mystery and the family's anguish, as the vast emptiness of the landscape seemed to swallow him entirely, leaving only unanswered questions and a growing sense of dread over what had truly happened that night. Over the years, his disappearance fueled speculation. Was this a case of a man succumbing to the unforgiving Texas wilderness, disoriented and injured? Or had something more sinister occurred that night? Rumors abounded online. Some suggested a second voice on the 911 call, hints of unseen pursuers, and the eerie circumstances of a man vanishing yards from help. Brandon's family refused to let his story fade. They maintained the Help Find Brandon Lawson Facebook page, organized search efforts, and kept public attention on the case. His truck, found on the shoulder of Highway 277, remained as the last physical trace of his existence. The vehicle contained personal items, but his keys and cell phone were missing. He had not accessed bank accounts, credit cards, or social media in years. These signs suggested he had not disappeared voluntarily, but rather that he had met a tragic fate that no one could explain. For nearly a decade, the mystery remained unresolved. Authorities could not confirm foul play, nor could they determine an accident, despite the chilling evidence of his calls and his frantic last moments. Every passing year added to the anguish of his family and deepened the fascination of true crime enthusiasts worldwide. Listeners of his 911 call heard desperation, fear, and a man trying to survive a night that seemed to have no end.
And so I reached out to Ledessa and offered to help her in any way that I could. And it started as this advocacy that has morphed into like citizen detective advocate. And so I went from just sharing the story to actively investigating it how I could. And then from there, with the help of amazing people, I was able to get to a point where I was able to actually start putting boots on the ground, 6 or 7 years after the fact, and looking for Brandon again. And when Ledessa and I started talking about searching for Brandon again, she said, I just want to start from scratch and act like we know nothing and search the entire area again. And so we started putting those processes into place. We did 2 drone searches in early 2020. We did a foot search in 2020. And then in this past January, just a couple of months ago, we put boots on the ground in a property.
It wasn't until February 4th, 2022, that a breakthrough occurred. Volunteers, friends, and family conducted a careful search of private land that had never been thoroughly examined. There, they found items of clothing consistent with what Brandon had been wearing the night he disappeared. The discovery prompted the Texas Rangers to launch a focused investigation. Further searches revealed human remains, weathered and exposed after nearly 9 years. The land that had swallowed Brandon now revealed a fragment of the truth. On December 25, 2024, the remains were officially confirmed to be Brandon's through DNA testing. After nearly 11 years, the mystery of his disappearance was partially solved. Brandon Lawson was no longer missing, but deceased. His family finally received confirmation, bittersweet as it was, that their son, brother, and father had succumbed to an unknown fate. Even with this confirmation, many questions lingered. Did he succumb to the elements after fleeing? Did he encounter a fatal accident, or something more sinister? The exact circumstances of his death remain unknown, lost to time and nature. Brandon Lawson's story endures as both a cautionary tale and a haunting mystery. A man who vanished into the Texas night, whose final words remain a chilling testament to fear and desperation, whose life was defined by devotion to family and the tragic fragility of human existence. His voice echoes in the recordings that remain, a stark reminder of how quickly ordinary moments can become extraordinary tragedies. The night of August 8, 2013, the stretch of Highway 277 and the desolate Texas brush are now forever linked with the unanswered questions of Brandon Lawson, a man whose life was brief, whose struggle was profound, and whose disappearance captivated the world. Brandon Lawson was more than a missing person. He was a father, a son, a brother, a man struggling against the weight of circumstance and fear. His disappearance and death reflect the unpredictable dangers of the human experience, and the mystery that can shroud even the most ordinary lives. The search for answers in the case of Brandon Lawson did not end with the discovery of his remains. Instead, it lives on through memory, storytelling, and the enduring grief carried by those who loved him. Family members, friends, and even strangers who followed his story continue to revisit the events of that night, searching for clarity in the fragments he left behind. His case has become a lasting part of true crime history, studied and discussed across countless platforms, each retelling attempting to piece together what truly happened. Though time has passed, the mystery still lingers, leaving an emotional imprint that refuses to fade. Brandon Lawson is remembered not just as a missing man, but as a symbol of unanswered questions, a haunting reminder of how quickly a life can vanish, and how some stories never fully find their ending.